ॐ भास्कराय विद्महे महातेजाय धीमहि तन्नो सूर्यः प्रचोदयात्। 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 ॐ भास्कराय विद्महे महातेजाय धीमहि।
Greetings. This is TK Trav, aka Travis Magus, here with LVX777. I'm here with another Vedic banger. This is the Surya Gayatri mantra.
Om Bhaskaraya Vidmahe Mahatejaya Dhimahi Tanno Surya Prachodayat. Om Bhaskaraya Vidmahe.
It's been a minute.
Mahatejaya Dhimahi Tanno Surya
Prachodayat.
Om Bhaskaraya Vidmahe Mahatejaya Dhimahi.
So, how are you guys doing this evening? Afternoon, whatever part of the world you're in. Jim M is in Australia, so for you, I'm pretty sure it's like, what, super early in the morning, maybe? In any case, peace to alchemy of life, the GOAT, peace, total body regeneration, peace, peace. WRA33, yo. Stray Panther 79, missed you, bro. Sky L, peace, 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 peace. Who loves orange soda? Peace, bro. Greetings, greetings. J Bones R, peace. Metaphysical misunderstanding or conversation. All right. Seven Taylor, Grand Rising, Grand Rising. I love you too. Catch it, you can even twerk to it, right? I'll have to test that theory out. All right, so it's been a minute. I've been doing a lot of researching on a bunch of different things, and I don't know how it is in you guys' world, but in my world, I'm continuing to experience more and more convergence and coalescence, right? Everything is starting to gel together and mesh together in a good way, right? In a good way. It no longer feels as if I'm researching different topics at all. It no longer feels as if I'm studying this and that and this. It's literally all one science, just approached from different angles. And I'm not saying that to be cool. That's literally how I'm experiencing this thing. Whether I'm coming from a psychological perspective or I'm coming from an ancient mysticism perspective or a modern practitioner perspective, all this stuff is the same, y'all. Now, it's been divvied up and delivered to you in different pieces, so it looks scattered. But once you have the right keys to lock everything into place, it almost becomes effortless because it's like you're going to one class, not multiple classes, one class. Cedric Granger, peace, bro. Speaking of class, the Inner Light Activation System class has been undergoing for a couple weeks now, and unless I missed anybody, it sure seems like everybody's pretty satisfied so far as what we're learning and practicing and putting into use. So I'm pretty proud of that so far, and like I said, it seems like everybody's thoroughly enjoying so far. I see a couple of you guys here in the chat. Marche Walker, peace, peace. Kings LO Fitness, peace, bro.
It's 4 o'clock.
Thanks, Mackenzie. Thanks, Maxine. Okay, so yeah, just wanted to answer some questions here. I think I I got so deep into the metaphysics aspect that I kind of went past my schedule. Like I wanted to tackle little chunks every week, but I kind of went too far, and it became this really I don't know. I got excited about something that needed to be explained in a different way before getting to it, so that kind of tripped me up a bit. But just to give an example of what exactly I'm talking about, when we last met, we were talking about the Heisenberg principle of uncertainty and how there are two quantities that you can know absolutely, but the other you won't know. And that would be the location of an object or the velocity of an object. If you know one, you can't know the other. And so from what I was looking at is everything is in motion. Everything is an oscillation between 2 points of rest. So if you take that little ball on a string and you pull it back, it's going to swing over here and rest. It's going to swing over here and rest, right? It's going to go through those two. It's going to go in between those 2 points of rest, stillness. But in between those 2 points, it's motion. Now, I need you to understand that those are two different dimensions. That dimension of rest is a dimension, and that dimension of motion is a dimension. So what quantum physics shows you, if you zoom into the very minute particles and atoms and neutrons, electrons, you're going to notice that things are blinking in and out of existence, right? They're here, and then they're not here, then they're back here again. And the scientists that only study the physical realm, they don't know where these things go. But what's agreed upon is that everything that we can experience is blinking in and out of states, from here to there, here to there, here to there. That has everything to do with this oscillating motion of back and forth, the 1 and the 0. So when we're at 1, just like a light switch or a computer or any electronic device, when you hit that switch, it's on. When you hit it again, it's off. So when it's off, it goes somewhere else. So to illustrate that just a little bit more, add more detail to it, when you have that pendulum swinging, right, and it's in motion, it's at a certain speed, and we can kind of track where it is also, but it's either one or the other. If we can track how fast it's going, we don't know where it is because it's in motion. If we can track where it is, then we can't track how fast it's going because it's not in motion. But in any case, once it hits that period of rest, we find a very strange thing happen, right? When we start measuring those extremely small distances of movement, what we find is that the quantity of space traveled in a unit of time begins to behave erratically. So in other words, I can track it moving from here to here, and I can say it's going to go a certain, 1 centimeter per second. Then over here, it's going to go a centimeter per second. I can track that. But if this is rest and it's starting to approach rest, we find it getting slower and slower before it hits rest. Now, when it starts getting slower and slower like that, it's not trackable. So if you were to really zoom in and watch it, it's almost flashing in and out of existence. And what's happening is that we've got two aspects to reality. We've got the material physical aspect, and we've got the etheric aspect, which is not tangible, right? And that's touching closer to what we call consciousness. This is a dual universe, meaning that on one side of everything is matter and energy, on the other side is consciousness. So when something is approaching that state of rest, it's starting to approach the dimension of consciousness. So that's why measuring the distance of it traveled within that space of time starts to become difficult, because it's blinking in and out of existence between material and consciousness. Now, keep in mind, we're doing this. Certain studies show that we're blinking out in and out probably 16 times a second. But the thing is, obviously, we don't remember that because we're so attached to our physical 5 senses, so that doesn't become apparent. But the questions that has to be asked is, what exactly is moving or not moving, right? Well, what we find, like I said, is that we've got the material universe, and we've also got consciousness attached to the material universe. So as that material begins to move slower and reach its point of rest, we find that consciousness now, it starts to move so slow that it's moving infinitely fast. So what you notice is that when something is still, it's indistinguishable from moving infinitely fast. Goodness gracious. Greetings, Marwa Fakir. Greetings, D Zadis. Greetings, same old me. Sheldon Beta Wolf, greetings from Guyana, or greetings to Guyana. JP, peace, peace. Pracho Dayata. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Jonathan Marquise, yeah, I know how it is taking a break from off the internet. Marche Walker, peace, peace. All right, all right. So yeah, let me get back to it. So matter can only go so fast. Matter literally has a limit of its velocity. Just to illustrate that as an example, if you take, the experiment is like if you take a bowling ball or like, I don't know, a sack of bricks or something. If you drop two things off of a tall building, they're going to reach a point where they accelerate and they can't go any faster than that. So depending on how much mass a thing has, it has a limit of how fast it can go. Consciousness, on the other hand, moves infinitely fast and infinitely motionless. So it's both of the same things. It's nowhere and everywhere at the same time. So what's happening is when it's starting to slow down and reach that point of rest, gradually slowing down to that infinite point of rest, what we find is that the matter reaches its limit of speed, where consciousness now is starting to, I don't want to say expand because it's both moving and not moving at the same time. This is where it gets kind of tricky, basically. But anyways, that's what we found when we zoom in. It starts to get a little bit erratic in the measuring of it. Now, it's not literally jumping everywhere, but the measurement of this thing is starting to get erratic. So I guess I started looking into that a little bit more, and that kind of threw me off track as far as these Sundays. That's very interesting and both complex subject. But it helped me to define a much better way of talking about omnipresence. Because if you think about, if you imagine condensing your point of consciousness into a single dot, right? Because right now we're conscious of our body and our five senses. Imagine if you were to localize all of that into a single point. Imagine you could take that point of consciousness outside of your body and you could move it around, right? So here you are sitting in meditation position and you're focused on your consciousness and you're seeing yourself in the room and all that stuff, like a point of light. Now imagine you realize that you don't have any limits on how fast you can go. So you zip around the world over and over and over again. Let's say you're going around the world in a circle so fast that it's almost like you're aware of everything in that strip of that path that you're traveling. You're aware of everything that you see on that path that you're traveling. And if somebody could see you, if they look up in the sky, they're going to see you and they're going to see this blur. But to them, you're just in that same spot. And honestly, if you had enough capacity to retain all the details, you would be aware of everything across that strip. So imagine if there was a point of consciousness that were to travel in all directions at an infinite speed and be aware of everything that it's experiencing along that path. It would technically be everywhere and nowhere at the same time. That helped me kind of get a good grasp on what omnipresence is all about. When you talk about omnipresence, it's literally something that is in every point at once, but it's moving so fast that it's at rest. Because we think about ultimate consciousness, it's at rest. The symbol of Shiva, which represents unconditioned ultimate consciousness, is, a god at complete unbreakable meditation and stillness. So that represents omnipresence. And the aspect of retaining all that information along that path would represent omniscience, because we're talking about being all-knowing. So for a point of consciousness to be in all places and to retain the information and the data of all places, that covers both omniscience and omnipresence. The next would be to create a device or a machine or some type of apparatus to be able to take action at any of these points. And that's where we would get to omnipotence, all power. In order to do that, it probably would make sense to make a machine so massive that it has multiple parts that can interact, which is where we have the universe and all the inhabitants of the universe. Interesting stuff. So really what I wanted to do today was just, I guess, answer some questions if anybody had any about anything related to this kind of thing. Peace, useless familiar. Peace, Manny, peace. So let's see. I did see a question earlier. Alchemy of Life says, how do you feel about creating your own pantheon of deities for the future spawn to tap into, as opposed to the current gods and goddesses? Well, you know, if you feel so compelled to do so, by all means, do what you want. When it comes to anything, I always ask the question, is it useful and is it appropriate? As far as it being useful for me and my personal day-to-day work, I could see it being useful to help share the workload of the things that I have to get done, because I got a lot of stuff that I have to do, and whatever help that I can give myself would be excellent. But as far as helping future generations and other things like that, I think the ancients did a pretty stand-up job in taking care of that for me already. I, as an individual human being in this era of life, don't know enough to undertake a task like that. I'm not smart enough to do anything like that. I haven't had enough life experience to really make a pantheon that will be comprehensive enough that it will be better than what's already made, right? Me and all that I've studied, and as long as I've been doing this, I would say that I'm not smart enough to do something like that. Nor would it really be useful, because, well, it will be useful, but I don't think it'd be appropriate because, like I said, such a system has already been created. And this is why I study Kabbalah, because essentially those 10 spheres and those 22 paths pretty much cover every experience that could be had in this plane or the other planes. So between the tree of life, between the chakras, between the tattvas, I think that pretty much takes care of the entire pantheon of anything. So I wouldn't really need to create anything. I wouldn't do that. But if you feel that, you know, that's something that you want to do, then by all means, I'd be interested in seeing what you come up with. Alchemy of Life says, what is a methodology we can use to knowingly tap into our higher selves and bring down astral light into our physical life? That's an excellent question. And I think that is a very useful and appropriate question. That's really the path of magic, right? The entire purpose of magic and spirituality is to come into contact with the higher self. I made a whole class about doing that. It's called the Inner Light Activation System. I do detailed pretty much an 8-week program of how one would go about doing that. I would highly suggest checking up on being a part of that. But if you don't want to be a part of that, then I would certainly look into a lot of the meditative exercises that are covered in Dharana Darshan, as well as a lot of the meditative exercises that were put together from the Golden Dawn. Between those two systems of yoga and tantra, and also the Golden Dawn, there are clear-cut pathways to really come into contact with the higher self. J Bones R says, what do you think about consciousness creating light forms? Yeah, so that's what consciousness does. When consciousness comes into contact with energy, it creates vibration. Rather, the energy vibrates. I'll put it that way. Consciousness is always there. Consciousness is there first and foremost. But when consciousness and energy come into contact with one another, the harmony of energy is thrown out of balance. So it creates a form, or rather it creates an impulse that leads to a form. So everything that we have in creation is a result of consciousness interacting with matter. Aries Goddess 22 says, peace, Travis. I have a memory issue. Is there something you can suggest to help retain memory? Yes, you can absolutely improve your memory. It just takes a redistribution or reallocation of your resources, of your mental resources. Now, I don't know if you have any like physical condition or anything like that. I don't know about that. But assuming that you don't have any physical condition with like your physical brain or anything like that, a redistribution of how you manage your awareness. So being more present in the moment absolutely helps with memory. Not only being more present in everything that you do, and I'm talking about from washing the dishes to eating your food bite by bite, chewing by chewing, breathing. The more that you can put yourself in the now, the more that you can consciously remain there as you go about your day, the better you're going to get with retaining these memories. Because what science has found and what the yoga teachers have already figured out is that the more modalities that you employ to experience life, the better cataloged it is in your mind. So if I were to just brainlessly drink my coffee, I'm not going to remember that because I'm in a trance state of being on autopilot. But when I put myself in the now and I feel the ceramic of this cup, when I smell the coffee, when I drink it and I taste it, and when I feel it go down my throat, when I see it, I'm using more of my senses. I'm using my smell, my taste, my touch. I'm using my sound by listening to it. When I employ all those five senses, those are called modalities. When I employ those modalities, the memory detail that's etched in my system, right? It's holographic. Memory is holographic, but more details are recorded there. And since more details are recorded in that experience, it's going to be a lot easier to pull back up later on. So my suggestion is to become more aware in everything that you do. Let me know if that helps or if that does not help. Another way to retain memory better, aside from just being more aware in the present moment, is also to write down and catalog your different thoughts and your feelings and things that you want to remember throughout the day. That's going to train your subconscious mind to pay more attention, right? Also, as you're sitting there writing and putting your awareness into the act of recording and recalling, again, it's going to etch a much more detailed memory in your mind. So the main answer for that is becoming more aware of the moment. Def Punk, what's good? What's good? J Bone says it doesn't create energy. It does not, because like they say, energy isn't created or destroyed. So just to clarify the terms that we use, J Bones, all of reality is what it is. It's already here. Nothing is created, nothing is destroyed. It only changes form. So there's two aspects here to this reality that's created. This is consciousness, and then there is energy. Now, energy is something that can be experienced in multiple forms. So when I say energy, I'm talking about solid, liquid, gas. I'm talking about vibration and anything that can be cognized. Energy, to me, and from what I've studied, is anything that can be cognized, right? Whether it's by this individual mind or by the greater mind of consciousness. So anything that can be cognized. When I think of energy, I see this big, colorless, formless lump of matter. That's what it is in the unmanifest dimension. But when we take that matter and it's being manipulated by consciousness, when you come into the manifest dimension, that matter is now stretched out into time. So when it's taken out of time, it's just a lump of formless, harmonized goop. But when we bring it into time, when we come into beginning, middle, and end, that goop is now stretched out due to cause and effect. So at one point, it's a seed. Fast forward, and it's a tree. Fast forward, and it's been cut down, chopped up into paper. Fast forward, it's now a book, right? Fast forward, now it's a part of a library, right? But when you zoom out of time, it's still part of this colorless, formless lump. So energy can't be created or destroyed. It's there already. And when it comes into contact with consciousness, the shape or the form or what it presents itself as begins to change. The goat asks, do you know anything about Grabovoi numbers? I do not. I've seen that term thrown around, and I've seen the cover of a few books on Amazon, and somebody did recommend it to me. I haven't purchased it and looked into it at all, so no, I don't know anything about that. Empress, greetings, greetings. Young infinite minds, greetings. So yeah, if anyone has anything else that they'd like to bring up as a topic of discussion, by all means. Okay, and he says, and consciousness made that. So yeah, technically, if you want to look at this thing, J Bones, there's three levels of existence when we're looking at it in this degree. There's the highest level, and this is pure consciousness only, just consciousness. The next level is the unmanifest dimension, and this is what the ancient Vedics called Prakriti, Mahaprakriti. This is all of matter, all of energy, all of existence in a harmonized, perfect form. So it's more like that lump of astral mental matter clay stuff, and consciousness is there as well, but they haven't come into contact with each other. The third dimension is the manifest dimension, and this is after consciousness has struck matter or struck energy, and now that clap, they call it, that shabda, that sound, it's now echoed and reverberated, and it is now within a system of time and space. Now time rather, is this eternal unfolding and becoming. What is it becoming? It's becoming that lump of formless existence. So on the lowest scale, we're going through the process of time and through the process of space. But on that unmanifest scale, all of matter is self-contained. The Vedics saw it as a giant egg. But in a level above that, which is the absolute highest reality, it is just pure consciousness. So in that realm, yes, there is no energy, there is no matter. Young Infinite Mind says, greetings, brother. What are your thoughts on telepathy and telekinesis? I think they're pretty cool. I also think that it's a lot to manage. That telepathy aspect is a lot to manage. Mainly because there's a lot of noise floating around. But once you understand that a lot of the noise, when you have a compassion for why it exists, I guess it's easy to kind of tune some of that noise out. As far as telekinesis, we all do that all the time. It may not happen instantaneously, but if your room is a mess and you want it cleaned and you visualize your room clean, if it takes you about a week to fully clean your room, then technically you employed the use of your mind to get that thing done. Supreme Agree asks, Brother Travis, can you give me some ways to improve my sigil magic game? Been working on that heavy. Yes. So let us understand and agree and realize that it isn't just the sigil that makes the thing happen. Now, the sigil is a useful tool to help, but it's never, ever, ever just the sigil that does it. The sigil is simply something to help your subconscious mind keep the goal focused upon. So basically, when it comes to sigil magic and all magic, we have this reality, which is essentially a conversation. And it's a conversation between your subconscious mind and your environment, right? So this thing that you call you, this is just the middleman. This is just in the way. It's not really anything but a bunch of memories and remembering and ego. But this reality is a conversation between the subconscious mind and your environment. And what's happening is that at any given time, the subconscious mind is impressing its vision onto the environment, or the environment is impressing its vision onto the subconscious. So when it comes to magic, what we're trying to do is we're trying to keep that process going outward. We're trying to keep the subconscious mind in a position of shaping our environment. So we use things and tools like sigils to keep that subconscious mind focused on the goal. So when it comes to the creation of your sigil, you've got to be extremely clear on what it is that you want. And again, just like I had mentioned for the young lady earlier, Aries Goddess 22, you want to employ as many of your submodalities as possible in the vision of this manifested outcome. You want to see it, you want to hear it, smell it, taste it, feel it. You want to have all these things extremely clear, nauseatingly clear. Now, once you have them clear and you're able to feel it and close your eyes and be there, just about, you're able to close your eyes and spend time in meditation and actually be there. What you're actually doing is you're singling out a reality. All right, you're singling out a reality. The way that this thing goes, it's almost like you're closing a zipper, right? And as you close the zipper, this is the closed part of it. And over here, you've got the two pieces of the zipper that's not zipped. They're two different timelines. But as you close that zipper, they start to converge, right? As you zip it, they start to converge. So when we deal with reality, we've actually got infinite numbers of zips, right? And our subconscious mind, our body is that zipper. And as we're zipping through, we're converging different realities into one singularity. So what we do with magic, what we do with visualization, what we do with affirmations and all those things, it's an attempt to single out a specific reality, a specific future, and to bring it into manifestation as the zipper travels. So when it comes to creating that sigil, you've got to be extremely clear on which reality you're trying to locate. And the thing is, with this thing clarified and located, you want to create a sigil that is extremely tuned into that vision. So whether you've written a sentence, whether you've drawn a picture, whatever you've chosen to do, it needs to symbolize that experience. So once you've done a good job of putting it all together, you lock it in place, and you want to have it in your environment as a reminder of exactly what reality your subconscious mind is attempting to pull into manifestation. Now you want to use repetition, you want to use the proper symbols, and you want to use emotional spikes. Some people use pain, right? Some people cut themselves and put blood on their sigil, right? There's all kind of different ways. Some people use orgasm, which isn't the best way to do it because you're burning a lot of useful energy that can be used towards other things. You might want to look up Ojas, OJAS. Sadhguru talks about it. Many other books talk about it as well. So when you're thinking sexual thoughts and you're getting very horny, and when you orgasm, you're burning Ojas, which is supposed to be used for your overall aura. So I wouldn't suggest what most chaos magicians are telling you to do, which is to fap on your sigils. I wouldn't suggest that. But whether you want to cut yourself and spill blood, whether you want to scare yourself or whatever it takes to raise this emotional spike, when that emotional spike is fired, it's very helpful to use that symbol because in that moment is an opening for your subconscious mind. Anytime that you are transitioning from one state to another, there's a slight opening in the subconscious mind. So whether you're when you cut on your phone and you're scrolling mindlessly through your memes and stuff, if you can somehow yank yourself out of that trance and find that sigil, that's one way that you can help to program it. Many ways to do it, but the most important part from my experience is to be extremely clear on what your goal is when you're crafting that sigil. Let me know if that helps you or not. Suryaya Nama. Def Punk says, nicely explained. Thank you. J Bones says, we are here and we can turn the subconscious off at any time unless you are on certain drugs, which constipate you and create a false sense of okay, similar to holding your breath and nodding your head. I would have to disagree, Mr. Bones. The subconscious mind cannot be turned off as long as you are alive. The subconscious mind is running in the background at all times. Now, the conscious mind can definitely be turned off, as it does when we're asleep. But the subconscious mind is always active. It's always active. The subconscious mind is what operates and powers the physical body. It regulates the heartbeat and the blood vessels pumping, and you know, your legs walking and everything. It controls the entire experience. That's just the terrestrial physical aspect, but it also has a very strong hand in other things as well. The conscious mind, its only real duty is to put things in categories. The conscious mind, really all it does is just attaches to the five senses and puts things in categories. It doesn't have much of a purpose beyond that. You're not going to be able to live without your subconscious mind, but you can live without your conscious mind. Like people who are in a coma or that type of thing, we'll find that there's no conscious activity, but the subconscious is still going. Empress says, can you advise what it means when you walk past a dead snake? Well, that depends. What do snakes represent to you? What is your personal experience with snakes? How do you feel about a snake? What kind of emotion does it give you when you see a snake in your mind? What does death mean to you? Right? Because we're dealing with two subjects here. We're dealing with the symbol of a snake and the symbol of death. What does death mean to you? Do you find death as something to be feared? Do you find death as something to be celebrated? Do you see death as a transition, as a doorway, as a transformation? Or do you see death as an ending? Do you see death as, game over? It depends on how you see those concepts. Mm-hmm. King's Low Fitness says, I'm still here. Just had to rewind to get the yogi's name. Dharana Darshan. That's a book. I'll put it in the chat for you. I put it in the chat just now. Dharana Darshan by Swami Niranjan Ananda Saraswati. Okay, all right. Let's see. Uber Putis says, do you have any tips on improving your arcane sight? I do imagination exercises, but my progress is extremely slow, and I want to be able to see spirits for evocation one day. That's a great question. To be able to improve your arcane sight, you want to really practice what they call dhyana meditation. And this is an aspect of withdrawing from the senses, right? This is necessary to do goetic magic or any magic dealing with activating entities that are accessed by a sigil. And of course, you're not going to see that in any of these grimoires because they want to keep their methods a secret and pretend that it came from their specific group. But all this stuff comes up out of India and what they found in the Vedic texts. So when it comes to dhyana, that's the withdrawal of your consciousness, your conscious mind from your five senses. So you're going inward into that space that I mentioned earlier, that gets closer to omnipotence. Now, that's really hard to really talk about without a map. So we use the tree of life to describe the map. So we're heading upwards from Malkuth into Yesod and bordering up to Hod. Because Hod on the tree of life, where there's Mercury, that's the last place that you're going to find anything visual. You're not going to see anything past Hod. So when you get to Netzach and Tiferet and all that, you're not going to see anything. That's why in Franz Barton, his book, Magical Evocation, they're called the 72 genie of Mercury. So these goetic spirits and most of these spirits, you're going to find them in the sphere of Mercury because there's no form past that. So when you practice dhyana, which is the withdrawal of consciousness from the five senses, you're going within and you're going up that tree. So if you're working with a spirit and specifically you want to see a spirit, you're going to want to hold on to the sigil as you do this. So you're focusing so much on that sigil that you're no longer focused on your sound, on what you smell, on what you're feeling. You're completely attached to that sigil. Now, as you travel up that tree, because you're going within, so naturally you're going up the tree. But as you make it past Yasod, which is the etheric plane, which is the imagination, once you get past that realm, you're going to tap into the Hod realm, which is where the essence of that sigil resides. And if you are locked in on that sigil, you're going to experience contact with that entity. Now, it may not always come through as a visual, but it may come through in a different way. It may come through sound. But if you want to specifically visualize and get stronger with visualization, start basic. Start closing your eyes and visualize an apple, right? Visualize something you know, right? I use this exact same coffee mug all the time. So I could close my eyes and visualize the dimensions of the coffee mug. I could remember the stripes in order, what color, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, little details like that. You want to look at it first and then close your eyes and go within and try to reconstruct it in your mind. And then you want to open your eyes and make sure that it's done. You could also use the tattvas, the 5 elements. You can close your eyes and visualize those basic shapes. You want to do that over and over and over and over again. And that will help you when you're focused on that sigil and you cross over into the lower astral plane, which is Hod, which is the last place that you'll see form. When you get to that point, these exercises that you've done with trying to remember basic things, they're going to come in handy when you get to that point. But the biggest problem people have is actually staying awake when you get to that level. Let me know if that answered your question. Thank you, India Small Man. India Small Man asks, telepathy explained. So I mentioned the underlying feature of all of reality is consciousness. It's consciousness. I also mentioned that everything is dual natured. Everything has a material aspect and etheric aspect, which for all intents and purposes, we can say a psychic aspect, a spiritual aspect, right? It's deeper than that, but just for this conversation with the general public, we'll say that everything has a physical aspect and a spiritual aspect, even though it's more complex, but we're just going to put it like that. So even though the physical may come and go and look differently, the spiritual aspect, the etheric aspect is always there. Everything in existence is connected to the etheric plane, to the spiritual plane. Everything is. So if you want to think of it as like a plant, physical things are the fruit, but the roots go way deeper into the spiritual aspect, into the etheric aspect. So when you're able to put your awareness and your consciousness in touch with the etheric aspect, with the spiritual aspect, you can now connect with the etheric aspect and the spiritual aspect of all other things. It's only a matter of focus. See, time, space, and distance, these are limiting factors in the physical plane. They're not limiting factors in the etheric plane or the spiritual plane. Time, space, distance, cause and effect, these have no bearing in the spiritual plane. So when you're able to put your consciousness in that realm, you can now come into contact with the spiritual aspect of anything. Now, there are specific ways to do this and specific chakra points to focus on, but what we experience as thoughts in our head, words and images and things like that, those are emitting vibrations. And these can be perceived on the etheric or spiritual aspect of a person. So right now, the physical aspect of me looks like this. If you could see the spiritual aspect of me, you could actually see some of the thoughts and some of the images that are in my mind at a specific time floating around my head. If you have what the young man asked earlier about etheric sight, if you're able to really hone in and I guess clarify your psychic vision, you could see specifically what people are thinking, what they're feeling, et cetera, et cetera. But the first thing is you've got to know how to come in contact with the etheric aspect of reality, number one. Number two, you want to get better at translating what you're experiencing. Because like I said, it's all vibration, it's all waves, but you got to be able to translate it. Like the young lady asked earlier, what does it mean to see a dead snake? Well, that depends. What does a snake mean? What does death mean? If you can clarify what those symbols mean, you're going to do a lot better in the spiritual plane, because the spiritual plane is symbolic. That's what you're going to see when you float around. You're going to see symbols like dead snakes. And if you don't know how to translate that, you're going to take it literally. And that's a mistake that most all these people out here on YouTube make, because they see something and they take it literally, when in essence it's symbolic. So when she saw that dead snake, if you sit here and you think that, oh, that means dead snake, if that's as far as your translation goes, you're not going to understand much in that spiritual plane. So you got to learn how to speak symbolically. Telepathy is a symbolic language. It's a symbolic language. India, small man, let me know if that answered your question. Same old me says, Trav, do you agree with the fact that life is unpredictable? No. If you know how to read patterns, then you can predict what's going to happen. Everything about energy and material realm and prakriti, everything about it is patterns. If you can read patterns, you can make an accurate prediction of what's going to happen. The weatherman does it. People who are very successful in the stock market does it. Business people of all types, entrepreneurs of all types who are successful do it. Influencers and content creators do it. You just got to observe patterns. Astrologists, you know, if you know how to observe patterns and translate them properly, life is not unpredictable. Do I know if I walk outside, I'm going to get hit by a bus? I mean, if I know how to read my Vedic astrology chart, then maybe I can predict something like that's going to happen. But most people don't look at patterns, so.
Excuse me, Theta Realms, brainwave sound journeys.
Spree McGee says, amazing, Travis. Thanks for the info. Also, do I need to burn the sigil? That's up to you. If you want to burn the sigil, then do it. If you want to flush it down the toilet, if you want to walk deep into the woods and bury it, do what you feel is necessary. But keep in mind, these actions have a symbolic impact. Burning a sigil inherently doesn't do anything. You're just burning paper. But remember, you're communicating with your subconscious mind. So does the intended effect that you want, is it going to benefit from you burning that sigil? Is it a fire-related manifestation? Maybe. We'll do it. Is it a water-related manifestation? Flush it down the toilet. Is it an earth-related manifestation? Go out to the woods and bury it. Is it an air-related manifestation? Throw it out the window while you're driving down the highway. It's up to you. You know, or you can leave it in front of your computer screen, so every time you look at it, it's there. It's up to you. You literally do it how you feel is going to impact the end result in the best way. Sugandhim pushti varidhanam urvarukamiva pandanat mrityor mukshiyamamritat. Kingslow Fitness says, I shared this talk with other spiritualists within my Discord as we keep in touch. I appreciate you. Thank you for sharing. Young Infinite Mind says, what is the best way to manifest money? The same way that I said about the sigils. You got to be extremely clear. You got to be extremely clear about how much money, who's paying you, what are they paying for, what service are you providing to receive that money. You got to be clear on these things. If you're not clear on those things, then you're not going to manifest money. At least you're not going to be in control of the money you manifest. So you've got to be extremely clear about what you're doing. Extreme clarity is how you do this thing. Useless Familiar says, am I the only one so sick and tired of reading these magical books filled with so much filler and personal anecdotes? Hell no, you're not the only one. From my experience, if you want to use a goetic entity to help you, Dantalian has helped me filter out the crap and only give me books that are useful. He's been very, very good at that. So if you want to use a goetic spirit to help you filter out some of that BS, Dantalian has worked for me. One says, I remember meeting you in my dreams. One guy was really tall. Y'all had black robes on. I like your work. Wow. I know. Yeah. Okay. Hope to meet you in real life sometime. How many dimensions until you get past the illusion? How many dimensions until you get past the illusion? That depends on you. So this is all about quality and quantity of consciousness. So with every rotation and cycle of reincarnation, you accumulate a certain quantity and quality of consciousness. The higher the quantity and quality of consciousness you have, that gives you more options of how you express yourself and what you can hold, right? The more options you have, the more you can do. So if you take two people and one person knows how to invest, one person knows how to start a business, one person knows how to do all types of financial things, and you got somebody else who doesn't know any of that. And the other person doesn't even know that. They don't even know how to eat healthy. So you take these two people and you start them out with $10, right? One person is going to blow all that money right away. Or at best, they might hold it so tightly and not spend it. The other person who knows how to deal with money will find a way to make that $10 grow, right? So that doesn't mean that one person's better than the other. One person has a higher quality and quantity of consciousness. Likewise, when it comes to reincarnation and these different lives, and like you mentioned, how many dimensions until you get past the illusion, when you get to the point that you have a max capacity, a maxed out quality and quantity of consciousness, you will no longer be fit for manifestation in this realm. Just like you're no longer fit to reincarnate as a dog or a plant or a rock. You have too much memory. You have too much karma, right? You've got way too much data piled up in your spiritual database. So in order to get to the next level, it involves study and practice, honestly. Whether that's done through books or whether that's done through intentionally trying to live your best life and doing things in such a way that you expand yourself. And when I say expand yourself, I mean getting experiences that you wouldn't normally get while you're in autopilot. Most people are on autopilot. So they're going to stay in this cycle of life for a very long time until they've had enough of it and they decide to go further. See, most of us, we came into this game, like most of us who find ourselves here in the spiritual stuff, we came into this game and we just didn't fit in with everybody else, right? Everyone else going to church and doing the same old. It just didn't feel right to us because we've been through this already. We've been through this already. And we already know that this ain't it. So even as kids, we had a certain quantity and quality of consciousness that we knew that the church wasn't it. What everybody else doing wasn't it. So that caused us to seek for more. That's why you're seeking for more, because you already have a higher quality and quantity than most people. But the question is, are you going to actually go out there and get it? Are you actually going to do the work, as I say? If you're not going to do the work, then you're going to stay at that level. So the more work that you're able to do, as far as acquiring experience, practicing, right, learning, the more that you're able to do there, the more that you're able to expand the quality and the quantity of your consciousness, and that will allow you to transcend and to move further. You'll soon become unfit for being a human anymore. The same way that you became unfit for being a platypus and an orange tree or a quartz crystal, right? You having all those crystals on your altar is helping this thing evolve. You being nice to your pet cat and your pet iguana is helping that thing evolve. You studying and listening to a guru speak, that's helping you evolve because you're expanding the quantity and the quality of your consciousness. The same way that if you want to get better at sports, you go learn from somebody who has more experience than you. The same way that if you want to get better at anything, you learn from someone who's got a more expanded quantity and quality. By the way, you said, I hope to meet you in real life sometime. Well, you do have the opportunity. I'm going to be doing my first live lecture next month, pretty much a month from now. Black Friday, November 26th. I'm going to be in Houston, Texas, and I'll be speaking with Brother Yosef, going to be speaking with Will Capru, going to be speaking with Mook, going to be speaking with Conjure Queen, going to be speaking with Dreamwise, going to be speaking with D-Ray. We're all going to be in Houston, Texas. You may have seen his symbol before. But yeah, if you guys want more information on that, I'm going to be talking about it a whole lot here from now to then. But also, you know, if you follow any of those people, we've got our links up and whatnot. But yeah, we're going to be live. So come check us out. It's going to be in November, Houston. I will grab the link and post it here very soon. All right, I'm just reading through the comments to see if anyone else had any questions or anything. Let's see. Oh yeah, also, for everybody who donated to the app, everything is still underway, still going. Like I mentioned before, once the first class was underway and once we got the first class completed, after that, we're going to open up the app for everyone else. So we're in the middle of the first class. It's still going on. Everyone who donated past a certain level, I promise that you'll be getting the workbooks as well as another item that's going to help with psychic development. You should be receiving all those items next month. All right. You should be receiving those items in November before the live show. So all that's still going. Just, you know, keep an eye out. Thank you for your patience. And yeah, if you donated and you're still waiting on your workbook and your cards, they're coming. Lavender the Empress says, looking good, Trav. Thank you. I haven't worn a shirt in so long. All right. Spree McGee says, hey, Travis, is it a good idea to treat my business like an entity? I was going to print out my logo and put it on my altar and give it energy and pouring libations and feeding it. Spree McGee, what do you think? Do you think that's a good idea? Do you think that's a terrible idea? What do you call your LLC? What do you call your business? We call it a legal entity. It's an entity. It's an egregore. Feed it. Feed that egregore, take care of it, talk to it, communicate with it, right? Figure out its personality because it's not yours. It came down here to work with you. So figure out what it is and what it wants. Work together in accomplishing the both of your needs. Yes, it's a living entity. So treat it like a living entity. If you're an occultist, then we have to approach mundane life with a magical perspective. Your business is a living entity. I mean, hell, it's got a social security number, right? Mine does. The magic doesn't stop. It applies to everything, unless you're a dabbler. Young Infinite Mind says, can you break down the metaphysical aspect of racism, why white people attack black people? Well, I would suppose that it would probably be in the same reasoning as why black people attack white people, or anyone attacks anyone for that matter. Most, I guess, people in this circle are, how do I say it? You know, we invest in seeing things from a certain perspective. I don't see things from that perspective. I look at humanity as it is, which is an animal deeply influenced by its genetics and its conditioning. So while we can easily say one group is under attack by another, there's more than enough data to paint a picture that anyone else can be in that position. So I don't look at it like that. You can if you want to. I don't care. I see all humans on the same level, which is little children in adult bodies. So why do little children attack each other? Because of insecurity, because of a feeling of fear, a feeling of uncertainty. So I hope that answers your question. Fear and uncertainty. Cool beans. India Small Man says that answered his question. Excellent. Oh my, there's a lot of comments. I lost my place. Okay, there we go. Oh yeah. J Bones R says psychiatry is similar to Satanism because the kids' subconscious mind sees that they feed the seized American children subconscious mind to a lower grade epoch of language through spells. Let's see. Amafoot says, how do I get my dad to come back home? I guess it depends on, are we talking about like a child's dad or like a girl who calls another man daddy, or more detail is needed? Greetings, Uppity Unicorn. Fitness Royalty says, so basically, could you make any method possible for you just by believing that that's the way to do it? That is a huge part of it. That's a huge part of it. So I like to use this example. If you're overweight and you want to get fit, let's assume that you got the mindset to be consistent and dedicated. After a certain number of time, the amount of fat that you're going to burn and the amount of leanness that you're going to form in your body, you're going to make a huge jump, right? You're going to make a massive improvement and you're going to get extremely close to your goals. You might even pass your goals, right? Let's say that. That's that big chunk right there. But what we find is that you're going to soon reach somewhat of a plateau to where you're not going to be seeing too much of a change. If you wanted to make more of a change, you're going to have to adjust and tweak little incremental things, right? You're going to have to really fine tune and adjust your diet. You're going to have to fine tune and adjust what specific exercises you do to increase small portions. You're going to have to get better just a little bit at a time. Just like if, let's say you don't know anything about anything. Then you go to school, right? Let's say you go to college, and for the first couple of years, first 4 years, you get your associate's degree or whatever, you learn a whole lot about that thing. But then you keep going back to school to get your higher certifications, right? You want to get your master's and your doctorate. The plateau is there now. So you have to start really focusing and fine tuning to fix just the little tweaks so that you can gain that level of mastery. Or say that you're a gamer and you don't know how to play Fortnite, but you watch a couple of YouTube videos and you start to tweak your style and you get so much better. But if you want to start playing them tournaments and winning that money, you got to get in there and really tweak the fine-tuned details in order to get past that plateau, right? You have to really start tweaking the little small details. So likewise, this is how it comes with this magic and manifestation and all that stuff. You said basically you can make any method possible for you just by believing that that's the way to do it. Sure, that's going to get you a big chunk. Adjusting your beliefs and how you see the world, that's going to get that big chunk. But you'll find that you hit a plateau, right? Just believing it isn't going to get you those things that you really want. It's going to get you a lot. But in order to get to that point to where you have just about all of reality under your control, you're going to have to start fine tuning and tweaking and start getting your masterate degree in magic. You're going to start to have to really tweak the small things like your self-talk, right? Like your diet, like the environment that you find yourself, like the people that you communicate with. You're going to have to start fine tuning and tweaking those small aspects of your reality in order for things to be how you really, really want them. Let me know if that makes sense. Let me know if it doesn't. Marche Walker says, happy to found you almost 3 years ago. I'm happy that you found me also.
It's 5 o'clock.
Thanks, Maxine. Thanks, Mackenzie. Extreme clarity. J Bones R says, cheating at a fixed position. Could we talk about the gender of the soul? Yeah. So, again, when we talk about these terms, I don't know how much you know or what you know about a certain thing. I can only speak from what I have learned and what I know the definition of these words to me. But when we talk about the soul, I'm going to assume that you're talking about the highest aspect of consciousness of an individual. So when we talk about gender in the body, gender has to do with, the sex. When we talk about gender of the mind, really when we talk about gender and sex, it has everything to do with the position in relation to the opposite gender. So one thing is directing with force, the other is being directed with form. So gender is force and form. I talked about consciousness and matter. Consciousness directs matter. Matter becomes what consciousness has directed it to become. So this is the relationship of gender on the higher planes, because obviously something without a body doesn't have a penis or a vagina. So when we're dealing with the higher planes, we're dealing with energy, and energy takes the state or form depending on what is surrounding it. So if energy needs to be formed, it will take a feminine aspect. If energy needs to direct, like consciousness, then it will take a masculine aspect. So it literally changes depending on the situation at hand. Beyond the physical dimension, nothing is exclusively masculine or feminine. For more information, refer to the Kabbalion or Mystical Kabbalah by Dion Fortune. Sankofa Sound says, can people who acquire the higher quantity of quality consciousness can people who acquire the higher quantity and quality of consciousness reach God level incarnation? Yes, but like I mentioned with the fellow earlier, you're going to hit a certain plateau and you're going to have to start doing some extreme work to get to that point. For example, you've got people who retire from worldly life and they go to the Himalayas and they strictly sit in meditation for days, weeks, and months at a time. They're the ones who are really striving to make those small changes to reach that God level. Oh my, you're located in Sweden. Thank you, Stray Panther, for sharing that link. Okay, so let's see. Mama IC, greetings. ZJ says, do you still recommend initiation into Hermetics? Yes, I do. I recommend buying that book, reading it, highlighting it, and actually doing what's in it. I do not recommend buying it and letting it sit on your shelf. I recommend buying it and using that thing, because you'll find that all these questions that are being asked are actually answered in that book, but only if you do the exercises that are in them. Yes, it helps with psychic ability. Yes, it helps with manifestation. Yes, it helps with telekinesis and psychic ability and all these things, but you got to do the work first. The High Priestess asks, will there be a live stream of the Houston lecture we can purchase? There will be live stream tickets. I'm not sure about purchasing the video afterwards. I'm not sure if they're going to do that. More information to come though. One asks, any good tips on how to remove spiritual parasites? Examples of your favorite spiritual baths, potions, spells, etc. So here's the thing with, so-called spiritual parasites. If you believe in that kind of thing, let's understand the metaphor that we're using. A parasite can only thrive in a specific type of environment. For example, if you've got parasites in your intestines, most of those breeds have to have a high acidity of blood and pH of the body. Not only does it have to have a high acidity, there also has to be a lot of sugar and a lot of other imbalances of the body. So there has to be an imbalance for those parasites to thrive. Even if you take a cleanse and get the existing parasites out, if the environment isn't changed, you're just going to invite them back in eventually. And according to the Bible, a demon cast out will come back 7 times stronger if the house isn't cleaned, right? I don't remember what verse that is, but you can look it up. So likewise, when it comes to spiritual parasites, sure, you can take the baths and do the potions and spells and all that, but that's a good way for a so-called spiritualist to make a lot of money, right? I could sell you all those little tools and tinctures, and you'll keep buying them from me because you're not actually healing yourself. Just like the medical industry. We'll give you these medicines. They won't heal you. They'll make you feel better, and you'll come back and buy some more. So to really deal with these spiritual parasites, you're going to have to clean your spiritual environment so that you're unfit to be parasite food, right? If you really want to get rid of spiritual parasites, you're going to have to fix your mind and your emotions. You're going to have to come into a state of balance and harmony. You're going to have to do the shadow work. You're going to have to meditate. You're going to have to become untriggerable, right? If you're still getting triggered by the events of the world, that's an indication that you have an imbalance. And if that imbalance isn't dealt with, these parasites are going to attach to you like that. Now, I don't believe in spiritual parasites. I see that as more as your own energy working against you because you're unbalanced, you're inharmonious, and your structure is faulty, so it's collapsing. So it's best to fix your internal structure so that your energy can flow freely. When that prana is blocked up, it's going to manifest as negative physical experiences. Let me know if that answers your question or if it does not. King's Low Fitness. If you can manifest it, go for it, man. I think that it will be a very enlightening experience. Not only are we going to be doing lectures, but we're going to have, almost like a smaller personal section where we're going to be able to talk about other things off the camera. So I think that's going to be very insightful. I know I'm personally going to be giving some stuff that I have not ever spoken about on YouTube. Stuffed Dog, peace, bro. Stuffed Dog says, what's good, Trav? I've been making strides with the meditation. Shit is getting good, and I'm getting good at it. Hell yeah, bro. Hell yeah. Excellent. Excellent. Uber Putis asks, how would you go about manifesting a free trip to somewhere out of the country? So look, please listen carefully to the things that I say, because usually when I speak, I'm not answering just your question. I'm answering as many questions as possible. So I did answer your question and the question about the sigils. This is a conversation between your subconscious mind and your environment. So your subconscious mind is consistently seeking to place itself on the environment, or if you're structured in a way that is not harmonious, your environment is seeking to impress itself on your subconscious mind. So if you're around an environment of things, it is equally trying to make itself into your subconscious mind as much as your subconscious mind is trying to make reality a reflection of itself. So just like I mentioned with your sigil, you want to focus on exactly the future time stream that you want to exist in. You want to localize that future time stream. You want to get very clear about it. And you want to create a symbolic representation of that future time stream so that when you look at it, you may not consciously remember exactly what it took to make the sigil, but you remember what it represents. You remember the essence of what it represents so that when you see it, you tap into it. So likewise, if you're trying to manifest a certain trip, you need to see that reality has already happened. You want to see it clearly with all your modalities, all your senses. You want to zone in on it, focus in on it, and use a symbolic anchor that you can focus on in the future and believe that it's already there. Because it exists as a different time stream, but you have to help your subconscious mind bring it into this time stream. For those of you asking about the music playing, I've got it's a couple of mantras going. I'll post in the chat, I guess, some of the ones that played if you guys wanted to save them. But it's mostly Maha Mrityunjaya mantras. You said, is there an archive of the live chat, Kingslow Fitness? Yes. When you're watching this video, there's going to be a button to click underneath that says live chat, and you'll be able to see the chat pop up in real time. So when you watch the replay, it might not pop up right away, but if you give it a few hours, you're going to be able to see the chat right next to the video. What's good, Al Dickey? Peace, peace. Long time no see. Mostly my fault, though. Vardhana Urvarukamiva Bandhanat Mrityur Mukshiyamamritat. Young Infinite Mind says, did Jesus exist? And if he did, would we consider him a magician? Well, the first part, did he exist? I don't know, maybe. But if he did exist, would we consider him a magician? Absolutely. And I would even say that he was a great example of a magician and a yogi, because truly, a good magician is really just a yogi in American clothes. Yes. Yes. Personally, do I think that Jesus existed? I believe that Jesus was an archetype or a symbol that represents the potential of a high-ranking magus. I think that he's what a magus should be. So, yeah. Ooh, Lavender the Empress, you asked such a great question. Thank you for that. She says, hey, Trav, when we talk about the extreme clarity needed in this work, since magic is not confined to time, is a desired time frame the only clear detail to leave out? That's really good. Really good. It would be helpful to leave that out. But if this is something that's time sensitive, it can be included, but just don't get butthurt if it doesn't happen in the time that you want. A lot of people get upset when it doesn't manifest in the time frame that they wanted it to. So then they go off believing that, oh, this magic is not real, it's a hoax, et cetera, et cetera. But if you take the time aspect out of it and just focus on the fact that, yes, it's working and you're going to do everything you can to make it happen, you are going to go so much further. And again, I'm talking from experience and consulting several people on this. When we take the time aspect out of it, you also remove the failure aspect. Because a lot of people consider failure when they don't make it in a certain time frame. Don't do that to yourself. Most of my things that I make sigils for and manifestations, I don't have a time frame on them. I just do them, and I trust the universe to make them happen when it's the right time. Because I understand that Supreme Consciousness is way more intelligent than me. I am a human vessel with limited memory. I don't know when the best time is to happen. Hell, I don't even know if I should be doing these rituals. But I have trust in my higher self. I have trust in the greater consciousness. So everything that happens is the way that it's supposed to be. And it's on time, divine time. Working with this aspect of myself, my higher self has literally never, ever, ever let me down, ever. So if it doesn't happen when I want it to, that just means that was not the best time. Great question. I want to send you a pack of cookies. Matter of fact, I want to send you a pack of cupcakes because I think that cupcakes are better than cookies. Sankofa Sound says, how can one attain the awareness of sleep consciousness in the waking state? And is that what is called daydreaming? Sleep consciousness in the waking state, it's best to practice getting there through deep meditation. I mentioned earlier a certain state called dhyana, which is withdrawal of the senses. And this is what you go into during deep meditation. When I do my rituals, I go into that state and I know that I'm there because I'm still conscious and I'm still aware, but I'm completely in the dream realm. I'm completely in the lower astral and I'm able to do my work there. Then I'm able to return to my physical body. But it takes practice to not only get there, it takes practice to be able to stay there and to control your behavior there. Believe it or not, it gets really difficult to control your behavior while you're in that state because most people are easily distracted in the flesh. So imagine how easily distracted you're going to get in the spirit realm, right? Most people can't stick to their word, right? You want to sit down and meditate for 5 minutes. 2 minutes in, you're checking your phone. If you can't hold your composure in the physical, it's going to be very tough for you to hold your composure in the more subtle realms. So as far as sleep consciousness in the waking state, you want to practice going within using the practice of dhyana. You want to practice doing that, and you want to practice staying awake. You want to practice maintaining conscious awareness while you're there. Now my camera is blurry. My camera is not maintaining conscious awareness of the focal point. How do we manifest that? Pushti Vardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanat Mrityor Mukshiyamamritat. Spree McGee says, hey, Trav, can you give me some insight on clairaudience? I've always been getting ringing in my ears, and lately I've been feeling this burning in my left ear. So when you're dealing with these higher senses, most of the time they have nothing to do with the physical body. A lot of people think of magic in terms of energy and physical things, tangible things. But in truth, the type of magic that I teach and talk about it deals with consciousness. So clairaudience doesn't actually depend on your ears. It's an inner hearing. It's an inner translation of subtle vibrations. So there are subtle vibrations on the energetic plane. And what we're doing is we're practicing and training ourselves. We're fine tuning our inner perception so that we can translate those fine, subtle vibrations into a sound that we can recognize, whether it's a voice, whether it's thoughts. Same thing with clairvoyance. When we close our eyes, most of us just see blackness. Some of us see colors and random stuff like what's behind me. But if you train your subtle awareness, you can begin to translate those and receive actual images and actual sounds from these shapes and colors. But it takes a refining of the subtle senses, and you do that in stillness. You do that in meditation. Why is my camera still blurry? Urvarukamiva bandhanat. There we go. Gail Monifa says, hey, Trav, I was just about to do your pillar of power meditation. That's a good one. That's a good one. Definitely a good one to learn how to move your consciousness around the etheric body. That's almost an introduction to really doing some of this work. So yeah, definitely do that meditation. Okay, all right. Oh yeah, Kingslow, feel free to write notes. That's great. No problem with that. Lavender the Empress. Lavender the Empress gladly takes the cupcakes. Awesome. Black Knight asks, are we able to change the karma of our family by us doing the work as far as meditations, shadow work, rituals, and working with the Kabbalah? Absolutely. Now, for the most part, your personal karma isn't just your personal karma. It's also the karma. It included with your personal karma is also the karma of your ancestors going back many generations. So for some people, that results in a life that is a bit more difficult than usual, or that results in blessings that might seem a bit wild and crazy. So in neutralizing your own personal karma, yes, you do affect the karma of those in your immediate vicinity, not just your family, but those that you're around and attached to all the time. The people that you're closely attached to are the ones that you affect. But you do have links with other people, karmic ties, or according to the Vedic stuff, they call that Ranandambandhas, Radam, I don't know how to say it, Ranandambandha. If somebody knows how to say that word, put it in the chat. You'll find a whole chapter on it in the Agora book. Radhanabandha, I don't know. Y'all know that word. But yeah, doing the work of neutralizing your personal karma, once you start getting yourself straight, because there's different types of karma. There's like the past karma, which slowly picks out little pieces of it and puts it in front of you to handle one piece at a time. There's karma that you're actively generating, right? There's karma that, you know, is waiting to manifest. There's all types of different karmas. And it's just like taking care of your bills. If you have a really big bill that you pay on monthly, and then you have little small bills, it usually helps. They say if you pay off that big bill first, you put all your money towards that big debt and pay that off. Then you put your money towards the next biggest debt and pay that off. So that's kind of what's happening here. The more work that you do, you may not be getting manifestations. You may not be getting riches and fame and health, but you may be burning off and paying off some of that karmic debt. But once you start reaching a point of balance, then everything that you've been working for starts to manifest. And I think that's definitely something that I had to go through in my life. That's why I had to suffer so many years as being an alcoholic. That was karmic. Those types of things are karmic. But yeah, the more work that you do on yourself, you do start to heal those that you are attached to and those who are attached to you. DJ TK says, greetings, Trav. What's your take on using psychedelics, LSD to be precise, to do the shadow work? I think that it can certainly be a wonderful tool to open up the experience and the perception of these higher planes. However, I think that it is infinitely better to learn how to do it without the assistance of things like that. Because most people don't have an internal ego structure to be present during those types of trips, during those types of experiences. And I'm going to assume that you're not the type to rely on it as a crutch or an addiction, because a lot of people also, they only feel that they're being spiritual when they're tripping, and that's a bad place to be. Or some people only feel spiritual when they smoke weed, right? That's the only way they can get. You don't want to be in that category because it's hard to get out of it. But the biggest trouble is that most people have a fragile ego. And I don't mean you're sensitive when you get made fun of. I mean that the structure that is used to process your reality and keep you sane, that's very fragile in most people. It's very easy to make people collapse. It's very easy to make people break down because most people have a very fragile structure. So when you introduce things like LSD, that structure can become upset rather drastically. So while it can do some good as far as healing past trauma, it can also do a lot of bad in putting a lot of stress and strain on your structure. Much love to Africa. Justin Simmons, peace, my friend. Justin Simmons asks, what helped you develop your visualization to where it is today? Well, kind of like we spoke about the other day, I would say that anime had a lot to do with it, but not just watching anime. As a kid, I used to draw a lot, and I used to draw my own little comics. I used to create my characters and create my world, and I'd close my eyes, and I was a nerd and I got made fun of, so life wasn't too fun. So what I did was I closed my eyes and I astral projected into my art, and I was friends with my characters, and I created these stories and these great battles, and I just had this whole massive imagination world that I actively participated in for many years. This was normal to me, going within and changing and doing this, that, and the third, making all these things happen. That's what I did as a kid. And then when we played with toys, we had the same thing. We had our action figures, and all of our figures had storylines. They had histories. They had jobs in the little toy community. Like, most of my childhood was spent dabbling in the etheric plane. So that never went anywhere. I still do that, and I've learned now how to take that and invest it so that it has a tangible effect on my reality. So instead of just visualizing fantastical creatures and characters, I visualize how I want my physical world to be, and who I want in my physical world, and what I want in my physical world. And I found that the more that I practice it, the better I get at it, to where, I can visualize something and within minutes have it happen for me, or in hours, or in days, or in weeks. But I've definitely gotten to the point where I'm not worried about nothing, because I know how to get what I want. But good question. That's how I got my visualization to where it is today, by drawing and going within my art, being an artist, basically. And that happened with music too. When I used to produce music, I didn't sit there and try to bang out something. Like, I would receive the sounds. I would receive just different lines and riffs and tunes and melodies. I'd receive them and I'd put them down. And, I would hear the beat. I put the beat in there. You know what I'm saying? I'd hear a certain kind of snare drum. I'd hear a certain kind of hi-hat. Like, I started to fine tune my astral senses. I heard a certain kind of 808 kick drum. And instead of just putting the default in there, I tweaked it so that the kick sounded exactly how I was receiving it. Right. So I didn't just put like stock sounds. Like, if you guys use FL Studio or Reason or Cubase or any of these programs, they have stock sounds that you use. I never went with the stock sound. I received the sound and I found the stock sound that was close enough, and I manipulated it. I crafted it. I made it so that it got as close as possible to what I was receiving. Then I learned how to actually create sounds. So I started to create my own sounds and tweak those. So you see, you use the tools that you're given and you tweak them to fit your internal environment. Because remember what I said, your subconscious mind is trying to create the external world. The external world is trying to impress upon your subconscious mind. So in the case of me making music and making art, my internal reality wanted to express itself. So I took what was out here and I shaped it, molded it, and transmuted it to match my internal world. As above, so below, as within, so without. Thank you, Stuffed Dog. Rambanda, body memory. Thank you. Wenton Patrick asks, how can one heal broken chakras? Question 1, who told you your chakras were broken? And why do you give them the authority to tell you that you're broken? That's the most important question. Answer that, and then I'll answer your question. Mercurius asks, so a constant practice of meditation refines our subtle senses? Yes. And to be specific, a specific specific types of meditation can refine specific subtle senses. Mercurius, that's a good question. That's a good question. I don't think I'll answer it though, but that's a great question that definitely deserves research for you. I'm not going to answer it because reasons. Pillar of power. I might answer it in a second. ZJ says, can it be beneficial to learn how to lucid dream, or does it not matter because it is an illusion? All of this is an illusion, man. All of it. Every last bit of it. You're looking at an illusion right now. Am I a little man inside of your phone? It appears that way, but I'm not. I'm literally somewhere in the middle of Georgia, sitting in a room, looking at a screen. I don't even see you. Am I even talking to anybody? Am I just talking to myself? Are these like automated text comments? I don't fucking know. I don't care either. All this is an illusion. So, I mean, with that being said, should I even be doing this? What's the point? What's the point? Am I doing it for money? I got a 99-cent donation. Am I doing it because ego? Like, not really. I know all this stuff, so I don't have to do it. It doesn't make me feel any better or worse. Why do anything? Is any of this useful? But to answer your question, yes, lucid dreaming is definitely important because our experience happens on multiple layers. There's a dense physical layer, and as the quality of consciousness rises, the density decreases, right? So you got this physical dense reality that you experience with your five senses. Then you have an inner reality, which is more subtle, that you experience with your inner senses. Now, there's an even subtle aspect of that, which is a more causal layer of those lower two. This is the lower astral plane. Then there's an even subtle aspect that is so subtle it doesn't have any form to grasp whatsoever. Now, most people talk about they're going to astral project in the astral plane. They're not making it that far because they don't have the instruments to remember what's happening up here or to translate it. But the higher up you go, you have more subtle senses. So when you start working with lucid dreaming, you're actually working and living and experiencing life in a subtle aspect of reality, not the dense five sense layer, but the subtle aspect of reality. Now, reality trickles downward. It trickles downward, which means that if you get good at it, you can affect change in that lucid dream area that will translate into the physical dense reality. So yeah, it's important. That's where magic is actually done. If you notice, the tree of life comes in a specific color scale. It comes in the color scale of the astral plane, not in the physical plane. It's useless to memorize the color scale of the tree of life in the physical plane because it's already done. You can't make any work with the color scale of the tree of life of the physical plane. We memorize the color scale of the tree of life in the astral plane because that's the very next level up. And if we do our work on that tree, it affects the tree below, which is the physical plane. Black Knight wants to know the name of this mantra. It is the Mahamrityunjaya mantra. I'll post the specific link to this one in the chat. Mamritat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanat Mrityor Mokshiyamamritat. All right, there's the link for this exact song. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanat Mrityor Mukshiyamamritat. All right, so let's see. Lavender the Empress, our cupcake winner, asks, have you ever worked with Bune? If so, what's been your experience with this spirit? Bune has been pretty difficult for me. My karma with that specific goetic entity hasn't been unlocked until recently. You have a karma with the spirits that you work with, and they don't activate until it's time. So you can buy all the Goetia books you want and watch all the VK Jahannam videos that you want, but until the time comes that it's activated within you, then you can utilize the power of that spirit. So for me, the abilities of Bune wasn't activated until very recently. So I've tried many times working with Bune, working with Clawneck, but I never really made any videos about that spirit because the karma wasn't activated until recently. So my suggestion is to attempt to work with all 72 of the spirits. You're going to find some that work excellently. And then you're going to find some that don't seem to work at all. That's because either you don't have a karmic tie to that specific spirit, or the abilities of that spirit are meant to be activated later. But you won't know who you're supposed to work with until you try them all out. Or even just try a few out. Urvarukamiva bandhana mrityurmukhyamamritat. Peace, Jay Runners. Okay, Winton Patrick asks or says, nobody specifically told me, but when I did some research on my symptoms, such as emptiness in the chakra places, and heard they can stop functioning. Okay, well, essentially, your chakra points aren't broken. To explain what's going on with your chakras is that it's like driving on a highway. You got, if you are in a car and you're driving, you see the highway, there's a bunch of cars going this way. Some are going faster, some are going slower. If there's an accident, all that traffic stops, right? And until the nice policeman comes out, or until somebody starts moving some debris and human trash out of the way, slowly people will start moving around the side. And then eventually the traffic will start to resume, albeit slowly. But because of a blockage, everything kind of stops the flow. Now, when you zoom out and you float up higher, you're going to notice that all these traffic pathways look a lot like blood vessels, or even prana energy vessels, or pathways, I should say. The 7 major chakra points are points where those conjunctions cross. When they cross, when the flow of mental energy and body energy meet at a nexus point, there's a very distinct quality of power that happens, a distinct quality of consciousness, quality of energy, right? Going from the root to the sacral, to the gut, to the heart, to the throat, to the center of the head, and then above the head. So these are different nexuses of circulation that's happening. So even if you're missing organs at those parts, that the chakras are still activating there. They're not broken. This is something that's not physical. Your chakras are not physical. They're in the etheric plane and higher. Technically, they're the organs of your etheric body. So what you may be experiencing is that those particular nexus points are blocked up. You may have had an accident in your past. You may have had somebody who enacted some abuse. You may have had someone to have hurt you in a certain way, or maybe even you manifested with a certain type of karma that expresses itself as a blockage on that path. So the traffic is backed up and blocked up. Now you can wait for a nice policeman to show up, or you can start doing some meditative practices to clear out the traffic on that particular aspect of the highway. And what you'll find is that once the traffic is resumed, a lot of things are going to change in your life, because now the flow of energy is going to circulate more freely as opposed to being blocked up. Introverted Alchemist asks, should the mastery of your emotions be the number one priority? Maybe for you, yes. Mastery of your emotions is definitely a priority, because if your emotions are not mastered, you're closer to the animal level than you are the God level. I talked about increasing the quantity and quality of your consciousness, and that has to do with your reincarnation and different lives and this, that, and the third. From mineral to plant to animal, the animal level is the level where it is ruled by instinct and emotion. Now, at the human level, it should be our task to not only transcend that level, but start to attain the higher states. But if we're still being triggered, if we're still being heavily influenced by emotional stimulus, then we're still at that level where we're just getting out of animal consciousness. And until we get a good grasp and grip on emotional reaction, we're not really ready to even be looking at the higher planes. Because if you take that kind of nonsense up at them higher planes, you're going to quickly find yourself in a very undesirable position in life. Because essentially you're not controlling what you manifest. The chakra points I mentioned are nexuses of energy and specific quantities and qualities of consciousness and energy. One of the major chakra points deal with emotion. And on the higher planes, this organ is meant to be an organ of movement. So there are three main organs of movement in the etheric body, one dealing with raw power, one dealing with emotion, and one dealing with the third eye aspect. So if these three things are not harmonized and under complete control of the self, if it's not under complete control, then you're being used by it. You're not using it as a tool. It's a tool that's using you. That's what I mean by you're still on the animal level. Animals are ruled and controlled by nature. So until you get past being mastered by your emotions, until you master your emotions, you're still a part of nature, just like the plants and the bugs and the bees and the animals. That's the evolution of consciousness. With a higher quality and quantity of consciousness, you have more options of what you can do in reality. But if your options are very limited, you can't do much at all, like the animals or the plants or the rocks. So to answer your question, should the mastery of your emotions be number one priority? It should definitely be a top priority. If not number one, it should be in your top three. If you have no control over your emotions, then yeah, it should be number one. Masterpiece 216 says, when you say work, does that just mean read? Absolutely not. When I say work, I mean, that means you, okay, so you right now are in autopilot, just like everybody else on the planet, autopilot. So we're controlled by impulses of the past. We're controlled by our memories. We're controlled by our emotions. We're controlled by the influences of the media, of social media, of our family, and everything around us is telling us how to think. That's autopilot. And we're stuck in a trance. Everyone's in a trance, including myself. We're all in a trance at some given time. You're never not in a trance, ever. But the thing is, you want to be able to select specifically what trances you want to be in. And when I say do the work, what I mean is you want to keep yourself in a specific trance of being available and aware in the present moment. I say maintain your frame. You want to be able to maintain awareness of yourself and everything that you're doing. You want to analyze and observe this experience and learn from it, because it has to get to a point where everything is a conversation between the subconscious mind and your environment at all times. There's no middleman. There's no conscious mind. There's no look at me, I'm special and I'm unique and appreciate me and look at me. That's the false identity, the false ego. That's not the real person. But you won't know that if you're still operating from within it. So when I say do the work, reading is a part of it, yeah, because you're learning things that you didn't know before. But the real work is applying what you've read. The real work is maintaining awareness in the present moment and observing and learning from your experience. What are your family members teaching you? What are your so-called enemies teaching you? What are your so-called friends teaching you? What are the plants and the animals teaching you? What's 1111 and 333 and 555 teaching you? What are you getting? That's the work. The work is being here, being present, and figuring out the conversation that's happening around you at all times. If you're not able to do that yet, reading will help you get to the point so that you can see what that looks like. Let me know if that answers your question or not. ZJ says, I've been keeping a dream journal now and they're getting real vivid, but I get no lucidity within the dream. Awesome. Excellent. Excellent. Your dreams are getting more vivid now. You're starting to experience more of that realm. That's great. Congratulate yourself. Pat yourself on the back. That's a good thing. Stop looking at what you're not getting and look at what you are getting. That's good. Over time, you will start to gain lucidity. But for now, appreciate the fact that you're having vivid dreams. That's awesome. Moby, greetings. So my brother came in and he picked up one of those pumpkin spice candles that you sent me. And he's like, Trav, you got another one of these? They smell good. And I'm like, yeah, I do. He's like, let me get it. I'm like, hell no. You can buy it from the same place I got mine. So you might have another order coming through. I don't know if you got any more pumpkin spice, but he was trying to commandeer my second pumpkin spice candle. And I can't go for that. No can do. Wayne M, peace. Sunshine Chick, greetings. Greetings. Wayne Wilson asks, how can I know that I'm dreaming while in a dream? So much like sex with a female, the foreplay should start long before you get in bed. So the same to go with being lucid in a dream. You want to practice being lucid while you're awake. Now that includes many different things. One of the things that you can do is, some people do this thing where they constantly check the time, not to see what time it is, but to build a repetition habit of checking the time. And if you do build up that habit, you'll find that in a dream, you'll go to check that time and something will be off. That can trigger lucidity. Another thing that people do is they listen to mantras, or for myself, I have certain phrases that I say, right? And I found that when I've encountered certain situations in a dream, I'll have that mantra trigger and I realize, whoa, I'm in a dream. So basically what I'm saying is, you want to prep yourself while you're still awake. Don't wait till you get there. One of my mentors says, dig your well before you're thirsty. So you don't want to try to get lucid while you're in the dream. You want to practice remaining aware while you're still awake. One way to help with that is, when you wake up from your dream, immediately go write it down. Not only does that train your subconscious mind to remember the dream, but it also trains you to pay attention in your dream. But if you can do little repetitive things like remember to look at your time, or like I said, different mantras can help with that. Or even if you, before going to bed, visualize yourself getting up out of the bed, walking around your house and walking around your neighborhood. If you can take that into sleep, that also has helped me gain lucidity. Ophio talks about that with his little method in The Art and Practice of Astral Projection, which is a book available on Amazon. And I've also done an audiobook for it. The video has the PDF in the description. Trayambakam yajamahe Sugandim pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva bandhanat Mrityor mukshiyamamritat. Wayne Wilson says, thank you, dope answer. Thank you, dope question. Mercurius asks, how do mantras affect you on an energetic level? So all of reality is vibration. Excuse me, all of cognizable reality is vibration. At the ultimate level, it's pure consciousness. And pure consciousness is the observer of the vibrations. So when we deal with the unmanifest dimension, like say if you're looking at the tree of life and you see the triple blackness of space above Kether, that's pure consciousness. There isn't any energy up there. But the tree of life and everything that is cognizable from Kether down to Malkuth, that's all vibration. And that's a vibration that has happened because consciousness met matter. And what happens is a giant clap. They call that the Shabda, the sound. Science calls it the Big Bang, but they got that from the Vedics. They got that from India. And they call it Shabda, which is the eternal sound, which is a vibration. And all frequencies tied into each other. It translates as Om. And Om isn't so much of a sound or a mantra, but a concept. With Om, it talks about the frequency being generated, reaching its peak, and dying out. But before it reaches its peak, another frequency is replicated. And before it reaches its peak, another frequency is replicated. And before you know it, you have this endless motion of vibrations. That endless flowing of vibration, that's actually what this mantra right now playing is about. But that endless flowing of vibration that's emanating from the three-eyed one, Triambakam, Yajamahe, that endless Om, that endless vibration contains every vibration in it known to existence, including sight, sound, taste, touch, smell, etc. But it is pure vibration. It is pure. It's uncorrupted. Now, from that has emanated a few more uncorrupted vibrations. And these uncorrupted vibrations start to mix and mingle and become corrupted vibrations, which is finite material reality. So many of these mantras are what's called seed sounds or bij sounds. Seed meaning root, meaning pure, meaning that they are frequencies that have been perceived at the highest level of cognition. So remember, I said the entire tree of life is all of cognizable vibration. But the higher up you go, the more pure and pristine. It's almost like drinking water that hasn't been touched by human hands. Glaciers that have been frozen for a millennia. Some of these mantras are derived from seed sounds that are uncorrupted and unperverted vibration. So it's never really the sound of it. It's not like, oh, it's not actually coming out of my throat. But when I go into meditation with this mantra, I reach the vibration that it represents, the pure version of it. I reach that. And that pure vibration comes into contact with my subtle body. My point of consciousness is now fixated and focused on that pure vibration. So I'm becoming one with it. It's almost like, I don't know, getting injected with a stem cell or some type of wonder drug. It fixes everything in your body. Our life experiences vibration. Everything that we do causes a vibration. Everything causes vibrations. So if you've got those pure, uncorrupted vibrations in your immediate vicinity, it starts to balance and harmonize the etheric vibrational aspect of everything else in your vicinity. So if you're starting to affect the vibrational aspect of your environment, that's going to translate into a material manifestation of harmony. Let me know if that makes sense to you or does not. Reading the comments here. Oh, Dwayne Wilson says, when I get lucid in my dreams, I slowly wake up, which is annoying. How do I maintain that state? Again, awesome. Congratulate yourself because you're attaining lucidity in your dreams, which, as you can see from the comments, a lot of people have trouble with. So before I answer that question, take your hand, pat yourself on the back because you're doing an excellent job. That's great. That's great. Right? So that was an issue that I struggled with for a long time, a few years ago. Becoming so lucid that I woke myself up and I started to track my results and what was happening. And what I found was when I would get lucid in the dreams, I would try to change too much. I would try to do too much. And doing too much was signaling to myself that I needed to wake up. So really, I was waking myself up from trying to change and manipulate the dream. To be specific, I remember one dream where I wrote it down. I'm trying to remember, but basically I was at like this pool party and yeah, I suddenly became lucid. I'm like, oh shit, this is a dream. So like, I brought all the women over to me, you know, to hang out because it's a dream. Why not? And it was like this really nice hotel, and I was sitting at this table, and like I ordered like all the best food, and I was just having a great time, right? And I'm sitting here chowing down on this awesome food with all these really sexy women around me with the bikinis and all that good stuff. And this agent dude came and sat at the table with his little Men in Black shades and stuff, and he's like, "You know, we can't let you do this, right?" I'm like, "What are you talking about?" It's like, we can't let you do this." So he like snapped his fingers or something, and I woke up. And that's when I realized, okay, well, maybe I'm doing too much. Maybe I'm doing too much. So what instead of getting afraid of agents infiltrating my dreams, I decided to just be more aware of how much I manipulate. Maybe that can help you. Try not to manipulate too much. But also practice makes perfect. Just keep practicing, keep trying. The Big Bang, Wayne M. That's funny. Thank you, Straight Panther. Mr. Perez says, when you realize you're lucid in your dream, start rubbing your hands and start touching walls and stuff like that. It will help. That's good advice. Yeah. But notice what's happening. You're bringing your awareness and you're trying to intentionally test the integrity of the place that you're in. Oh, yeah. Mercurius, exactly right. Okay, so he says, okay, so mantras in a nutshell raise my vibration to the level of the mantra, which brings whatever consequence being at that level brings. Exactly. See, the magic that I talk about is about consciousness, not about energy. You're not going to hear me tell you to get a certain kind of candle or a certain kind of rock or put your water under the moonlight. I'm not going to tell you to do none of that stuff, because all that stuff is rooted under the mind frame that magic has to do with energy and matter. But that hasn't been my experience. In my experience, matter has everything to do with levels of consciousness. And if you're able to elevate your individual consciousness to higher, more pristine levels of consciousness, it will inevitably have an effect on the matter that you experience, because matter is directed by consciousness. Matter is directed by consciousness. Matter is the feminine aspect. Consciousness is the masculine aspect. Consciousness is the mind without a body. Matter is the body without a mind. So the two have to work together. That's why it doesn't matter what you do magic on. You don't have to have the name brand candles. You know how much magic I've done on Walmart candles and still do, right? Still do. I could afford great quality candles for a long time, but I still get the Dollar Tree candles. Why? Because they work. Why not? Why spend $10 on a pack of 6 tea light candles when I could spend $1? Or hell, go to Amazon and spend $20 and get 400 of them. It doesn't matter the name brand or the type of thing. It matters the consciousness behind them, because it's all symbolic, right? The subconscious mind operates based on symbols, right? I don't know what brand this was, and it doesn't matter. What matters is that there's a unicorn on it, and it says, I don't believe in humans. It doesn't matter. I didn't buy the hottest new phone on the market. I bought a phone that works with a nice little camera. It's not an iPhone. I don't even know what brand it is. Now, there are cases when quality does matter. For example, DreamWise sells this dream supplement. Those of you who are interested in getting better results with the dreams, maybe this will work, right? From Mint Alchemy, get you this Hayataki Plus 60 capsules dietary supplement. I'm not getting paid to advertise this whatsoever. The reason I'm showing this is because this has given me repetitive lucid dreams on purpose, repetitive lucid dreams. I got one left, so I'm about to make an order today. Try that out. Try that out. Let me know if that works for you, because it's worked for me. And I take Harataki already, so I don't even know what's in it to make it work that good.
It's 6 o'clock.
Oh, thanks, Maxine. Thanks, Mackenzie. They're on unison today, so this must be some good energy we got going on. Cosmic Stylist says, wow, thanks, Trav. You're very welcome. I'm improving my grip. All right, so yeah, that's the main thing. Like I said a little bit earlier, all of you who generously donated to the Magus Academy app, I appreciate you. I thank you. You can be expecting your package to come in next month. And as far as the app itself being open, we're in progress with the Inner Light Activation System first class. Everybody's loving it. Like I said, unless I missed somebody, everybody seems to be having some pretty great results. So I'm getting super confident in this thing. I'm about to start running some Facebook ads like, do you want to activate your connection with the higher self? If so, I've got a guaranteed way to do it. I might be able to start making ads like that and not get sued, because so far, everybody's doing well. But anyways, after this class is wrapped up, the app shall be open for everyone. And if you missed out on the first class, I will be opening the doors for it again after my live speech here. So I'm going to be live in Houston, Texas on November the 26th. So I would suggest coming out, because I'm going to drop some stuff that I have not dropped before on YouTube. The more that I learn, the better I get at explaining this stuff, because I understand it. It's easy. I'm able to manifest because I know how to do it. And it's not because I have melanin. It's not because I'm black, and it's not because I got a cool ass beard. It's because I understand that it's not energy, it's not matter, it's consciousness. And if you know how to build a framework to circulate your consciousness in the right pathways, to do it right, to focus right, if you do that, you can manifest whatever you want. Whatever you want. Now, everybody in my class is learning how to do it. So I feel pretty confident in being able to teach just about anybody how to do it. So if you can come out November 26th, you might want to hop on a plane and do so. For those of you who live in Houston, of course, it'll be a lot easier for you to get there. By all means, this won't be the last time that I will be speaking on stage. All right, so man, I miss talking to you guys. It's been a while. Nama Shivaya. All right, so I guess that's that. Does anybody else have anything they want to comment or ask or say before I roll out of here and get back to work? By the way, the book studies are coming back. Don't worry. I've just been very, very, very focused on this class and making sure that my students get everything that they need to have success, because, you know, I'm all about quality, doing things the right way, not about cutting corners. But, you know, I'm about to get to a point where we're going to get back to the book studies, and yeah, we can hang out like we were a few months ago. I have come across so much information that I never even would have dreamed of. Jeez Louise. Some stuff that I don't even want to speak on yet. Just because the implications put into the wrong hands. Shit. I thought the Goetia was something. Man. All right. Well, looks like that's about it. Nobody else is saying anything, so I guess it's time to go. Mercurius, I wouldn't say that's a dumb question, but I think that's an interesting thing to think about. Mercurius says, this may be a dumb question, but is the reason artistic people can often be seen with their hair only on one side of their head is because the hair can direct energy to different areas of the brain? Very possible. Very possible. I used to rock with that hairstyle at one point in time. I think if you look back at my oldest videos, you can see it. Because, you know, once you get inducted into the Illuminati, you have to dye your hair blonde for a little bit. I had my little swoop with the gold tips. Stuffed Dog 69 says, I'm gonna need that information, Trav. What information? Yvonne McCoy 333 says, thank you for sharing your knowledge, Trav. Thank you for receiving. It's a two-way street. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. For real. But yeah, Stuffed Dog, let me know, what are you referring to? Mercy Decorator says, love and appreciate you, Travis. I love and appreciate you too. Did you ever do a book study on cyclomancy yet? Saving that for the app. So once the app comes out, one of the things in the app is going to be cyclomancy thing. We're going to go over cyclomancy. I like the YouTube stuff, but I guess I'm just going to have to figure out how to manage my time because, you know, I can't be doing this all the time. I'll have to kind of split it up between the classes that I'm doing and the app, and then also the live stream. I guess we'll just have to kind of balance it all. Oh, the heavy duty stuff. Gotcha. No, seriously, this is some stuff that I will never talk about online just because, man, just keep digging in the direction that we've been digging in and take it to the extreme and know that whatever limits you may have thought there were to certain types of magic or psychology or whatever, know that whatever limits that we may have thought there were, it goes much deeper and much further and has already been figured out as usual, right? We keep finding out that there's nothing really new. A lot of the stuff has already been figured out. But there's one book that we bought, didn't go over in book study, but we all got it in the group. And I didn't actually read it until recently. And I started to see that in some of these books that we already have is some very important information. Some of these yoga books, some of these Vedic type of books, Robert Svoboda, some very serious stuff. Gotcha. Jeremy Lang asks when I'll be doing the next Inner Light Activation System class. So we will be wrapping up this first round at the end of November. We might even, you know, dip into December because, you know, we're covering a lot of info. But I plan to start the next class in January. So when I go to give the live speech for everybody who comes, I'm going to give them an opportunity to join the class at a discounted rate. But I'm going to open the doors again around December or so. And yeah, probably around January. And since I might adapt some things and change and tweak it, everybody who's in the class now, if you guys want, those of you who are in this chat, if y'all want, y'all can still join the next session. But I want to say maybe January we'll be starting again. But the tickets will be out in December and the price will go up in January. So it might be a good idea to get it on the day of the live speech, because that's when the price will be the lowest. HK Imswell asks, what was the most useful information from cyclomancy for you? The most useful information was the chapter about the brain horns and also the brain cone. And the reason being is because what I found is this book is really teaching you the same style of magic that I teach, which is not dependent on energy, but dependent on consciousness. And this is teaching different structures to place your consciousness within to receive specific type of information. So using the brain horns, using the brain cone, and even the brain rockets, that gave me practice on how to use my consciousness intentionally to make specific things happen. So I kind of got stuck on that chapter for a long time because of practice. That's what you're supposed to be doing. You learn this shit, you practice it. And practicing those parts of it taught me a lot about how to use my consciousness to direct it towards matter and make things move. So that would have to be my favorite part of the book. Kevin Wise, peace, brother. Mercurius asks, how is imagination able to impact your physical or energetic body? Well, how about you sit down and imagine something that pisses you off to the extreme. Imagine somebody you love being hurt in a very terrible way. And you tell me how that affects your physical body. Energy follows thought. Energy follows consciousness. Consciousness directs energy. Consciousness directs energy. So if you dwell on a stressful subject, if you dwell on negative thoughts and thinking, a very real effect happens in your body. Whether your blood pressure rises or your heart rate increases or you begin to sweat. Matter of fact, why don't you sit down and spend some time thinking and imagining and visualizing something that sexually arouses you. Imagine that for a while and see what kind of changes it produces in your physical body. Because your question was, how is imagination able to impact your physical or energetic body? So you can imagine that if you take those visualizations and you have a goal of a specific feeling or state that you want to experience, you can use your imagination to put you in that state. And when you're in that state, your physical body changes accordingly. HK aims well, no doubt. But as far as affecting your energetic body, so manifestation, all of the tree of life, everything up under consciousness is regulated by a set of patterns. Depending on what level of existence we're talking about, it's regulated by a specific pattern. For example, when a sperm cell and an egg cell create a zygote in the womb of the woman, it has to follow a pattern now. It is subject to a pattern, and that pattern makes those cells form into a head, 2 arms, and 2 legs. Like, that's a pattern that must be obeyed. Everything in the cognizable reality follows patterns. The more dense and heavy and low, the more restricted and bound to patterns it is. When you go a little bit higher to the etheric plane, it's less restricted to patterns, but patterns nonetheless. When you go a little bit higher to the lower astral, still going to be bound to patterns. But when we get to the higher astral, it's bound by a different set of patterns that don't include form. And the higher up you go, the patterns are less and less and less distinct. One way to think about this is that at the very lower physical plane, the earth plane, it's affected by patterns that affect all 5 senses: taste, touch, sound, smell, sight, all that stuff. Now, when you go up to the etheric plane, the sense of smell is left out. So sight, sound, taste, and touch. All these are patterns that regulate the etheric plane and the lower astral. When you get to the higher astral, we're dealing with the fire element. Sight is taken out. So on the higher astral, you don't have sight anymore. You don't have taste anymore, and you don't have smell anymore. You just have touch and sound. Then you go up to the highest plane, which is represented by Akasha. All you have is sound. Hence why when the Big Bang happened, or when Shiva and Shakti, or consciousness and matter, met each other, it made a giant clap, a giant vibration, a giant wave. Om. Right now, if you go higher than that, you go beyond what they call elemental consciousness. Elemental consciousness is with the five senses. There is a super consciousness above that. And this is the realm of what they call buddhi. This is above the ego. And this is a realm that deals with the highest personal consciousness. Beyond that, you have that realm that I described in the beginning of this video, which was unmanifested reality, all together in this egg-shaped, gooky, gulpy matter mass of everything in balance and harmony. And that's called Prakriti or Shakti. That's the feminine aspect of ultimate reality. And then just above that, we have the masculine aspect, which is called Shiva, which is pure consciousness and no thing. There's no thing there. That's where your soul is, by the way. Michaela Andrea, nice to meet you. Mr. Cheeto says, I've heard that mantras need initiation. True. Some mantras shouldn't be recited by everyone. That's true, yes. Because again, these vibrations, they affect the change in your energetic body, and that change is manifested in your physical body. There's a story in the book Agora. I think it was, I don't know if it was the second or the third one, but it talks about how a guy was initiated into a mantra before he was ready. And what ended up happening was he was also going through the process of what you young people call nofap, or semen retention, where you don't undergo sexual thoughts or ejaculation. And he was concentrating and focusing on this mantra, and he made it through 90 days, which is the level that you get to, you know, if you're going to go nofap, you got to go 90 days. Anyways, he made it to that point, and that mantra was a bit too powerful for him, and he ended up raping his own wife. And he had a dream that night, and in that dream, Ganesha, or the elephant, was rampaging and kicked his ass. And he woke up with a swollen face. His head was so swollen, they rushed into the ER, and he actually died, you know, because the blood flow was all weird. But did the elephant beat him up in his sleep? No. But the circulation of his prana and how he enacted with his sexual energy, all of that came back upon him in such a way that he wasn't able to handle. So to answer your question about mantras, this is true. But also for a mantra siddhi to actually work, you have to actually repeat it a certain number of times, like a massive number, like 10,000. And the reason being is that it takes that much time for the average person to get into contact with the subtle vibration behind the mantra itself. You don't just tap into it the first time you say it. You have to actually go into meditation and continually focus on the vibration behind the words. Connor Black, greetings. Have you ever worked with Kali? I have. Not for too long, but she's one of those few entities that cause drastic change immediately. And I think this is around 2015, 2016. So that change was enough to throw me off course. All right. So, it is 6 o'clock, 6:19 my time. And I think that I'm going to go maybe grab a bite to eat and do some more work. Did you guys enjoy the live stream? Did you guys have fun? Did you guys get questions answered? Did you learn something? I certainly learned something. I learned that I miss doing these and I need to start doing them again. What a day, what a day. I'm tired. I've been through a week of some heavy lifting, doing a lot of housework. I'm gonna need to recover after this, that's for sure. Tian Pomeroy, greetings, greetings. I know it's probably like 11:30 for you over there. All right. Well, yeah, I guess that's that. I'm gonna go. Be sure to seriously consider coming to hang out with me in Houston, Texas. It's gonna be on the 26th of November. So you got about a month to figure out how to get there. You can use your cities to manifest a plane ticket. It shouldn't be too expensive. And yeah, you can ask me questions to my face. You can see that I'm actually short as hell. You can check out my sweet badass wizard robe that I wear all the time. You can ask me about demons and mind control and all those other things. I'll probably be doused in heavy Fruity Pebbles flavors. Some delicious and whatnot. And also, for something more immediate, next Sunday, which will be Halloween, I'm gonna be live on Masterly Foolish's YouTube channel. So don't forget to check that out. It's gonna be early, it's gonna be 11, so you won't miss your trick-or-treating. 11 o'clock Eastern time. I'm gonna be live on Masterly Foolish's channel for the first time, right? Masterly Foolish is pretty awesome. I'm sure you guys have seen Masterly Foolish's YouTube, or at least heard of him. But yeah, tune in early Sunday, 11 o'clock, just before noon Eastern time. I'll be there, and everybody else that's going to be at the live performance, we're all going to be there talking about like the spiritual origins of Halloween and stuff like that. So come check us out. Michaelia Andrea asks, how do you get initiated into mantras? Well, if you find a guru or a spiritual teacher who gets to know your energy, they'll be able to help direct you to a mantra that's going to be most beneficial to you. If you don't have a guru and you don't, it's not in your path, then maybe you can do some digging and maybe kind of see which one stands out to you, test them out. I tested out about the three main mantras, and mine was revealed to me. Just so happened to be the Mahamrityunjaya mantra. But yeah. Oh yeah. Man, life is good. Next Sunday on Halloween morning, see me on Masterly Foolish's live stream channel. Next Sunday, 11 a.m. Eastern time, tune in to Masterly Foolish's live stream channel. You can see me and all the other people that I named, Brother Yosef, Mook, D-Ray, Dreamwise, Will Capru, Conjure Queen, and we're going to be speaking about Halloween on Halloween. All right. Masterpiece 216 says, I need help on meditation and which one to use. Look through my YouTube channel. Type in, I'll have to spell it in the chat because you're not going to be able to type it in. Look up those two meditations on my channel. I did a audiobook reading of those two meditations. Those are excellent to start with. Check those out. They should help you. I hear you, King's Low Fitness. I'm glad that you are definitely getting value out of this. That's awesome. All Creations says, so I had a dream about being initiated. What does that mean? Very symbolic. So it depends on a lot of different factors. What are you going through in your life right now? What are you being initiated into? Apparently you crossed a level and you have reached a certain quantity of consciousness that you're ready to handle a little bit more. You've been initiated into handling more responsibility. So the question that you've got to ask yourself is, what are you being initiated into? What other symbols were involved with this dream? What else did you see? What else was going on? How did it feel? What new responsibility are you now given? Because initiation has a lot to do with responsibility, not so much what you get, but what you give. So what are you being initiated into? What responsibility do you now have? Initiation and a lot of the spiritual power, it's not so much about, oh, look at me, I can control reality. You have a responsibility now to creation. So much so that if you abuse that responsibility, it can have consequences that are pretty damn drastic. Hence why discipline is important, and hence why non-attachment to ego pleasure starts to become more and more important. Because if you have the ability to make people do things, you're going to want to have to start neutralizing your sexual perversions and greed and things like that, because you're going to quickly misuse your ability, and that's going to backfire on you faster and going to hit you harder than you realize. So what responsibility do you have? Because if you misuse what Prakriti has given you, you will become a slave to that thing. And not just a slave, but the kind of slave that gets destroyed, ground up into peppercorn dust. Masterpiece 216 says, how long does this process take to go from newbie to your level? It depends on your karma. Hell, if you were my teacher in the past life, then really it would just take you watching a few of my videos so that you can learn what you taught me last time. If you're brand new in this lifetime, then it may take you a few lifetimes. But more than likely, if you found my video, you've already been doing this work in the past. I find that for the most part, I am an initiator and an igniter. A lot of people that come to my channel, they have a feeling that they know some of this stuff already. That's because they do. Locked in their karma, in their karmic memory, they've already done a lot of this before. So I teach a lot of advanced practices, but I make them seem really easy and basic because I know a lot of people that are coming to my channel, they're just reactivating themselves. So it's very likely that you have actually been very advanced in your past and you're just coming here to wake up again. So how long will it take? I can't tell you that, but I can tell you to stick with it, and you're probably further than I am. Most of my students are typically people who have been further than I currently am, and I'm just waking them back up. Matthew Barrows, greetings, bro. Facebook jail again. You ain't missing much on Facebook. You know how that goes. Same shit, different day. I wish I could stop using Facebook. Maybe I should put myself in Facebook jail and say something offensive. All right. Mr. Cheetos, like I mentioned, there's a lot to do with responsibility. Like, a lot of this Vedic information deals with the subtle levels of the human and the mind, and you're given a lot of ability to do a lot of things that a lot of people will be afraid of. So if you really have the power, if you have the power to affect somebody deeply without them knowing or caring, you're really not supposed to abuse that, or it falls back on you. So for him to do that with his wife, he violated something. He violated a trust. He violated a certain responsibility that was given to him. There's more to the story, of course, but the fact of the matter was, he allowed his emotions to overtake him. He allowed his desires and his animal nature to overcome his God nature. And that caused him to incur a punishment upon himself. Nobody punished him. He did it to himself. Because he allowed his primal carnal energies to overtake a vessel that was fit for a god, because he did that, he had that dream and that vision of Ganesh, which represents the root chakra. He let his primal urge overtake him and beat himself over the head. So that channel of energy that he had circulating was twisted up, corrupted. And that corruption, because look, when you do these higher spiritual practices, you start, like I said, this is a responsibility. This is a you get a higher, you're now trusted with more. So if you've got more energy coming through you, you're managing more energy now. If you misuse that and twist it up, it's going to be painful. Most people have a little small amount of prana circulating through their chakras. Most people have just a little tiny necessary amount to keep the body circulating. If you get that twisted up and blocked up, then okay, that might manifest, maybe a disease or an unpleasant situation, whatever. But when you start doing this work and you start bringing through massive amounts of power, when you start doing that and you make a simple ass mistake that you're way advanced past, the implication will be a lot more painful, right? Say, for example, if you invest $5 in stocks and the stock market or that stock crashes, you don't lose much because it's just $5. But if you invest $5,000 and it goes under, that's going to hurt a little bit more. If you invest $10,000, that's going to hurt a lot more. You see what I'm saying? So likewise with our prana, with our energy, with the chakras and whatnot, most people only have a $5 investment. That's why they're easy to control and affect and impact, right? But when you start doing spiritual work, you start gaining a lot more. It's an exponential increase. So you go from $5, now you start making 1,000, right? 5,000, 10,000, 20,000. Now you have a lot more circulating through. So if you start, that's why you also have to practice non-attachment. You have to come out of these debates and arguments and they killing us out here and look what they doing and look what Lil Nas X is doing. You got to come out of all that nonsense, because with you having more power, the backlash of that nonsense is going to hurt you a lot more than it would hurt the little basics out here talking about that stuff. Thank you, Matthew Watson. Peace, by the way. With great power comes great responsibility. Thank you for that. Appreciate you, Mario 79. All right, I'm gonna leave for real this time. But yeah, I certainly absolutely enjoy being here and having these talks, these discussions, and asking the questions that you guys ask and answering them and receiving feedback. If anyone cares, I'm currently listening to this mantra. If you don't know what mantra to start with, this is a good one right here. Om Namah Shivaya. This is the mantra that I used when I first got my Rudrakash. This is the one that I used to purify and open these up. And I'll give you a advanced technique. Don't do it if you're not ready. But basically, when you're doing Om Namah Shivaya, you want to focus on your chakra points. When you say Om, you want to keep your focus on the third eye. When you say Nama, you want to focus on the stomach chakra. When you say Shi, you want to focus on the throat. And when you say Vai, you want to focus on the genital area. And when you say Ya, you want to focus on the heart. So it goes Om, third eye. Nama, which is the stomach. Shi, throat. Vai, genitals. And then Ya, heart. So you do that process. Boom, 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 boom. You do that along with this mantra, and you're definitely going to start opening up some prana channels. But don't do that if you're not ready, because you don't want to get beat up in your dreams by a giant elephant. All right. I'm out. Catch me next Sunday on Halloween, 11 a.m., Masterly Foolish's channel. Then a month later, get on a plane, fly out to see me in Houston, Texas. I said Houston, Texas. And I'm gonna have my first book there, my first actual book. I don't think I'm gonna sell it on Amazon because I'm just gonna put everything in it. But I might sell like a watered down version of it to the general public. But come check us out. All right, I'm out. Matthew Barros asks, are you going to be involved in the virtual retreat with Brother Rich and Billy Carson too? I know you're in one of them with Brother Yosef. This is going to be fire. Not that one. I have some other stuff arranged for the next 12 months. Some of it I'm not supposed to be able to. There's going to be more, a lot more. But that particular one, no. There will be more. Manifestation is a beautiful thing, isn't it, guys? You can manifest whatever you want, but you got to start with being still and being certain. All right. So close your eyes, visualize the smell of a freshly opened box of Fruity Pebbles, and smile because life is good. All right, y'all. I'm out. This is TK Trav, aka Travis Magus, here with LVX777. I love you guys. Peace.